So picking back up from our last sheet cam nesting video, we have our nested sheet here. Clicking into the nesting mode, it shows the toolpath and how sheet cam is going to cut it. We have a simulation option here. If I click into this mode, I can basically start the code and adjust the feed rate here. So I'll speed the feed rate way up to 500%. And this will let you see how the machine is actually cut the plate out. Generally, I don't do this. Usually I trust the way sheet cam is chosen to cut the plate out. But if you're curious about it, you can see the order in which sheet cam is going to cut your parts out. Now, it won't always cut just these parts and then move on to these parts. It may cut up and choose to go in a circle, and there's different options in sheet cam that can control that. Okay, so I'm going to stop this, get out of the simulation mode, back to the original. And so in the nesting mode, I'm going to click and drag around those parts, and I'm going to delete them. And I'm going to go back to the original single part. Okay, so I'm going to go the zoom to part. So if I go back to view toolpath mode, I can work with the operation here. So a couple things I want to talk about here in this operation that we didn't mention. The most important being the path rules. This is a really nice feature. It allows you to control the speed of the cut and whether or not the torch height control is on or off at different parts in the cut. It will allow you to slow down the cut for holes. On an inside corner, you could set it so that, say, a 1/4 inch before the corner, the machine slows down and turns the torch height control off, and then 1/10 of an inch after the corner, the machine speeds back up. All of that can be accomplished in the path rules. Currently, we have no path rules set up. So what we have to do is create initially a path rule set. So to click on this square box here, what I can do is create a rule set. Currently I have none. I can add a rule set. So I'm going to call this rule set holes. Okay. Now to this rule set I can add rules. So I can add a rule, and these rules can happen at all these different options. Okay, arcs, small shapes, inside corners, outside corners, whatnot. For this rule set, I'm going to have it work with initially small circles. I determine how small a circle. For here, I want it to be a circumference of 1.5 inches. When it encounters a small circle, it will automatically slow the feed rate down to 60%. On the start, it will turn the THC off and then turn it back on. So now I have that rule set there. Okay. Now, you may be wondering, why are we turning the THC on and off? Well, anytime you slow down the cut, your torch height control is going to have a tendency to run too close to the plate. Depending on how much you slow it down, it will run into the plate. Okay, so it's very key that you turn your THC on and off when you are reducing speeds. Okay, so to this rule set, I'm going to add another rule. And this rule is going to be for small shapes. So this will be for ovals and whatnot, things that aren't circles. I'm going to make this the same size, and I'm going to set the same parameters. as the holes. I don't have to, but I want to. So now I have a rule set. Basically, I can click OK, and now I have a rule set saved. If I go over none, now I can set the rule set to holes. Now when I do this, now if I click on to show true width, you'll notice that these are shown in blue now. So what that means is a rule is being applied to them. So basically, if I zoom in, you will see an X here and an X here. So the X's are indicating where the rule is starting and where it's stopping. Okay. So here we have a single X, just start and stop. Okay. So you can add as many rules as you want to a set, but you can only apply one set at a time. So if I go back into that rule set, just to show you, I will add a rule set to my outside corners. So corners that are tighter than 45 degrees, before the corner, a tenth of an inch before the corner, the feed rate will drop down to 60%. The THC will turn off, and a tenth of an inch after the corner, it will speed back up and the THC will turn back on. So now, I've applied that change, and as you can see, now I have these rule changes showing up in blue, indicating it is going to slow down, slowing down. Not going to slow down on this one because that's the start point. Okay. So that's how you use your path rules. Very powerful, and I would definitely recommend, let me delete that rule, back to the originals, definitely recommend you use path rules to slow down your holes on your thicker plate. This will give you much more consistent holes. You know, generally when you're working with the default speeds that are set in the tools over here on your thicker materials, generally you'll find that you, with really good nozzles, and if everything's set up right, you'll get good holes. However, when your nozzles and parameters aren't quite set perfectly, then your holes will be the first thing to deteriorate. Your perimeter cut will stay good while your holes don't quite turn out so well. By slowing your holes down, you get far more consistent holes. So even if I have worn consumables and I'm cutting thicker plate, I can know that I'm going to get a higher quality hole provided I slow it down. So, very nice feature. I highly recommend you use it.